Most people think night hunger is a lack of willpower. They tell themselves they are weak, undisciplined, broken in some way. But that belief is not only wrong, it is harmful. Night hunger is not a moral failure. It is a biological signal, a predictable response to how your day was structured, how your nervous system was stimulated, and how your body interpreted safety and scarcity. If you understand that, you stop fighting yourself and start working with your physiology instead of against it. Your body is not trying to sabotage you at night. It is trying to protect you. When evening comes and the lights dim, your brain begins a transition from action to recovery. This transition depends on signals: temperature, light exposure, stress hormones, blood sugar stability, and emotional tension all feed into the same system. If those signals are chaotic, your brain interprets that as danger. And when the brain senses danger, it does not allow fat burning or deep rest. It demands fuel. That fuel craving often shows up as intense hunger just before bed. One of the most overlooked drivers of night hunger is unresolved stress from the day. Stress is not just what happens to you. It is what remains in your nervous system when the day is over. If your body is still in a state of alert, it will not permit energy release from stored fat. Fat storage is a long-term investment. The body only accesses it when it feels safe. So if you lie in bed with your mind racing, your muscles tense, and your breathing shallow, your body will ask for quick calories because that is the fastest way to feel secure. This is why eating late at night often feels soothing. It is not about food. It is about calming the nervous system. Sugar and refined carbohydrates temporarily reduce stress hormones. They create a short-lived sense of safety, but the cost is high. Insulin rises, fat storage increases, sleep quality drops, and the cycle repeats the next night. The solution is not stricter discipline. The solution is teaching your body safety before sleep without using food. The first thing to understand is that night hunger is often delayed hunger from earlier in the day. If you undereat protein or skip meals, your body keeps a quiet ledger. It does not forget. It waits until you stop moving and then it collects. The brain is patient, but it is precise. It will not let you sleep while there is an unresolved energy deficit. So one of the most powerful things you can do before bed is to remind your body that nourishment is consistent and predictable. That does not mean eating a heavy meal at night. It means your day was structured in a way that did not signal famine. Another major factor is light. Artificial light after sunset confuses your internal clock. When your eyes receive bright light at night, your brain delays melatonin release. Melatonin is not just a sleep hormone. It influences insulin sensitivity and fat metabolism. Low melatonin at night pushes the body towards storage rather than repair. This is why people can eat the same calories but gain weight when sleep timing is disrupted. Reducing light exposure before bed is not a comfort habit. It is a metabolic intervention. But even if food and light are managed, there is still the emotional residue of the day. The human nervous system evolved to discharge stress through movement, breathing, and social connection. Modern life interrupts that process. You sit, scroll, think, and suppress. By night, the stress has nowhere to go. Your body then uses hunger as a distraction and a regulator. Before bed, you must create a signal that the day is complete and you are safe enough to rest. This does not require perfection or long routines. It requires intention. Slow breathing for a few minutes tells the vagus nerve that the threat has passed. Gentle stretching releases muscular tension that the brain interprets as unresolved effort. Writing down lingering thoughts externalizes mental noise so the brain does not have to keep repeating it. These are not relaxation techniques. They are biological messages. One of the most effective things you can do before bed is to lower your body temperature slightly. A warm shower followed by a cool room creates a natural drop in core temperature, which enhances melatonin release and fat oxidation during sleep. Your body reads this temperature shift as nightfall. When that signal is clear, hunger diminishes because the system knows energy conservation and repair can begin. Protein also plays a unique role here. Adequate protein intake earlier in the day stabilizes blood sugar and reduces nighttime cravings. In some cases, a small protein-focused snack in the evening can reduce fat storage rather than increase it because it prevents a stress-induced insulin spike later. The key is intention, not impulse. Eating from awareness calms the system. Eating from compulsion excites it. You must also understand that sleep itself is one of the strongest regulators of body composition. When sleep is short or fragmented, cortisol rises, insulin sensitivity drops, and appetite hormones shift. The body then prioritizes storage. Shutting down night hunger is not about resisting food, it is about protecting sleep. When sleep is deep, the body accesses fat naturally because growth hormone is released and repair pathways dominate. There is a deeper layer as well. Nighttime is often when emotional hunger appears. During the day, purpose and distraction keep emotions contained. At night, silence removes those buffers. Food becomes comfort, presence, grounding. If this is the case, the solution is not suppression. It is replacement. Creating a calming ritual that provides safety, predictability, and closure can fulfill the same need without metabolic cost. Your body is always listening. It responds to patterns, not promises. If every night ends in chaos, stimulation, and negotiation, the body prepares for scarcity and stress. If every night ends with calm, consistency, and clear signals of safety, the body releases control and allows healing. Fat storage is a defensive behavior. When defense is no longer required, the behavior fades. This is why small changes before bed can have outsized effects. 5 minutes of breathing can reduce hunger more than willpower ever could. Dimming lights can influence hormones more than calorie counting. A structured evening can do what extreme dieting never will. The body is not stubborn. It is cautious. When you earn its trust, it cooperates. You do not need to fight night hunger. You need to understand what it is asking for. Often it is asking for rest, for reassurance, for consistency, for safety. When you provide those things intentionally before bed, hunger quiets naturally. Fat storage slows, not because you forced it, but because the body no longer feels the need to protect itself. Most people are taught to believe that hunger late at night is a character flaw. They assume that if they were stronger, more disciplined, or more motivated, the cravings would disappear. This belief quietly creates shame, and shame itself becomes another form of stress. But night hunger is not born from weakness. It is born from biology. Your body does not speak in words or moral judgments, it speaks in signals. When hunger appears at night, it is rarely asking for food alone. It is asking for safety, stability, and resolution. Throughout the day, your nervous system is constantly scanning for threats. These threats are not just physical dangers, but deadlines, emotional conflicts, uncertainty, and mental overload. When these pressures accumulate without release, the body remains in a heightened state of alert. This state is driven by stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which are useful for action but destructive when they remain elevated into the evening. A body that feels threatened does not want to sleep deeply, and it certainly does not want to release stored energy. Fat burning is a luxury process reserved for times of perceived safety. When night arrives and external demands finally stop, the brain reassesses the internal environment. If it detects instability, it looks for the fastest way to restore balance. Food, especially quick digesting carbohydrates and sugar, becomes an attractive solution because it rapidly lowers stress hormones and creates a temporary sense of comfort. This is why night hunger often feels urgent and emotional rather than calm and rational. It is not about taste or enjoyment. It is about regulation. Another layer of this signal comes from how the body was fueled earlier in the day. Skipped meals, low protein intake, or inconsistent eating patterns send a message of scarcity. The body may tolerate this during periods of activity, but it does not forget. When movement slows at night, the nervous system takes inventory. If it senses an energy deficit, it triggers hunger to prevent perceived starvation. This response is protective, not rebellious. The body is ensuring survival based on patterns it has learned. Stress and underfueling interact in a powerful way. High stress increases energy demand while simultaneously reducing the body's willingness to access stored fat. This creates a paradox where you feel exhausted yet crave more food. The body is saying that it needs fuel now, not later, because later feels uncertain. In this state, fat storage becomes more aggressive. Insulin sensitivity drops and calories consumed are more likely to be stored than used. This is not punishment. It is insurance. The modern environment amplifies this problem. Artificial light, constant stimulation, and digital engagement extend the day far beyond natural boundaries. The brain struggles to recognize when it is truly safe to shut down. Without clear signals of evening and rest, hunger becomes one of the few remaining biological levers the body can pull to manage stress. Eating creates a sense of closure when the day itself never properly ends. It is also important to understand that the body does not separate emotional stress from physical stress. An unresolved conversation, a feeling of inadequacy, or lingering anxiety activates the same physiological pathways as physical danger. When these emotions are suppressed or ignored, they remain active in the nervous system. At night, when distractions fade, their presence becomes louder. Hunger often rises alongside them, offering comfort and distraction in equal measure. This is why willpower fails so consistently at night. Willpower is a cognitive tool, but night hunger is a physiological response. The more you resist it, without addressing the underlying signal, the stronger it becomes. The body interprets resistance as further stress, reinforcing the belief that resources are threatened. This deepens the cycle of craving and storage. Understanding night hunger as a safety signal changes the entire approach. Instead of asking how to suppress cravings, the better question becomes what the body is trying to regulate. Is it blood sugar instability, unresolved stress, emotional depletion, or a disrupted circadian rhythm? Often it is a combination. The solution lies in reducing the need for the signal rather than silencing it. When the body feels consistently nourished, emotionally settled, and environmentally supported, night hunger loses its purpose. The nervous system no longer needs to request immediate energy because it trusts that resources are available and recovery is allowed. In this state, fat storage naturally decreases because the body no longer feels the need to protect itself against uncertainty. What happens in the final hours before sleep has a disproportionate influence on how the body handles energy, hunger, and fat storage. The body does not make these decisions randomly. It responds to cues, and those cues are most powerful when the system is transitioning from activity to rest. This is why nighttime behaviors can either amplify cravings and storage or quietly switch the body into repair and release. The difference is not effort, it is signaling. Hormones operate on timing as much as quantity. Insulin, cortisol, melatonin, leptin, and growth hormone are all influenced by what you do in the evening. When light exposure remains high, screens dominate attention, and the mind stays engaged in problem solving, melatonin release is delayed. Melatonin is often thought of as a sleep hormone, but its role is far broader. It enhances insulin sensitivity, reduces inflammation, and signals the body that it is safe to stop seeking energy and begin restoring tissues. When melatonin is suppressed, hunger hormones remain active, and the body stays oriented towards storage rather than usage. Breathing patterns are another critical signal. Shallow, rapid breathing keeps the nervous system in a sympathetic state, meaning alert and defensive. In this state, the body prioritizes immediate energy availability. Slow, controlled breathing does the opposite. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which governs digestion, repair, and fat metabolism. Just a few minutes of slower exhalations can lower cortisol enough to reduce hunger without consuming a single calorie. Temperature is an often ignored regulator. The body's internal clock expects a gradual drop in core temperature in the evening. This drop supports melatonin release and improves sleep depth. When the environment is too warm, or when the body remains heated from stress or late exercise, the brain delays sleep signals. Hunger often rises as a compensatory mechanism, creating a temperature contrast, such as warming the body briefly and then allowing it to cool, tells the brain that night has arrived and energy conservation can begin. Even posture and movement matter. Hours of sitting or mental tension leave residual muscular contraction in the body. The brain interprets this as unfinished business. Gentle stretching or slow movement before bed communicates completion. It tells the nervous system that action is no longer required. This reduces the background stress that often masquerades as hunger. When muscles release, the mind follows. Nutrition timing plays a role not through calories alone, but through predictability. When the body learns that food arrives consistently and adequately, it stops demanding emergency fuel at night. Protein intake earlier in the day stabilizes blood sugar and reduces fluctuations that drive cravings. In some cases, a small, intentional evening intake focused on protein or slow-digesting nutrients, can lower nighttime insulin spikes by preventing stress-driven overeating later. The key distinction is between conscious nourishment and impulsive consumption. One calms the system, the other excites it. Light exposure is perhaps the most underestimated factor. The eyes directly influence the brain's master clock. Bright light at night tells the brain that it is still daytime regardless of the actual hour. This delays the hormonal cascade that enables fat burning during sleep. Dimming lights, using warmer tones, and reducing screen intensity are not lifestyle aesthetics. They are metabolic instructions. When the brain receives darkness cues, hunger naturally declines. Mental closure is another powerful signal. An unfinished task list keeps the brain in a problem-solving loop. This loop maintains cortisol release, which in turn increases appetite. Writing down tasks, worries, or plans for the next day externalizes them. The brain no longer needs to hold them in working memory. This release often leads to a noticeable drop in nighttime hunger because the stress driving it has been resolved. Consistency matters more than intensity. The body learns from repetition. When evenings follow a predictable rhythm of reduced stimulation, calming signals, and preparation for rest, the nervous system anticipates safety. Over time, hunger adjusts downward because the body no longer expects disruption or deprivation. This is how routines reshape metabolism without conscious effort. Sleep itself completes the cycle. Deep sleep increases growth hormone, which supports fat breakdown and tissue repair. It also resets appetite hormones so that hunger aligns with actual energy needs the next day. Protecting sleep by sending the right signals before bed is not a passive act. It is an active strategy that influences body composition more reliably than restriction or force. When evening signals are aligned, the body stops arguing. Hunger softens, cravings lose urgency, and fat storage no longer dominates. The system shifts from defense to recovery not because it was commanded to, but because it was shown that it is safe to do so. Lasting change in the body does not come from control, pressure, or constant resistance. It comes from trust. The body is not an enemy that must be conquered. It is a system designed to protect you under conditions it believes are uncertain or unsafe. When people struggle with cravings, weight gain, or stalled fat loss, the underlying issue is rarely a lack of knowledge. It is a breakdown in communication between intention and physiology. The body responds to patterns, not to short bursts of discipline, and it organizes itself around what it repeatedly experiences. When cravings dominate the night, the body is revealing that it does not feel secure enough to let go. Fat storage is one of the most ancient safety mechanisms humans possess. In times of unpredictability, the body prioritizes survival over aesthetics, logic, or goals. This is why aggressive dieting and rigid control often backfire. They increase uncertainty. The body interprets restriction as a threat and responds by amplifying hunger signals and conserving energy more aggressively. What looks like resistance is actually protection. Earning the body's trust begins with consistency. Regular sleep times, predictable meals, and stable routines tell the nervous system that the environment is reliable. Reliability reduces the need for emergency signals like intense cravings. When the body learns that nourishment, rest, and recovery are not a risk, it relaxes its grip. This relaxation is not psychological. It is biochemical. Stress hormones decrease, insulin sensitivity improves, and the body becomes more willing to access stored energy. Evening rituals play a central role in this process. The way the day ends teaches the body what to expect. Chaotic nights filled with stimulation, unpredictability, and emotional suppression signal danger. Calm, repetitive evenings signal safety. Over time, the body associates these cues with rest rather than scarcity. Hunger diminishes because it no longer serves a purpose. The body does not cling to fat when it trusts that tomorrow will provide what is needed. Emotional regulation is a crucial part of this trust building. Many cravings are not driven by physical need but by emotional depletion. During the day, attention is outward. At night, attention turns inward and unresolved feelings surface. Food becomes a coping mechanism not because of weakness, but because it reliably provides comfort. Replacing this pattern requires offering the nervous system another form of reassurance. This could be stillness, reflection, warmth, or intentional quiet. When emotional needs are met without food, The body learns that nourishment and comfort are separate experiences. Self-criticism undermines this process. Harsh internal dialogue increases stress and reinforces the belief that the environment is unsafe. The body responds accordingly. Compassion, in contrast, lowers physiological arousal. When you respond to cravings with curiosity rather than judgment, stress decreases. The body becomes more open to change because it no longer feels under attack. This shift alone can reduce the intensity of nighttime urges. Patience is another form of trust. The body does not reverse protective behaviors instantly. It waits for evidence. Each calm evening, each nourishing meal, each consistent bedtime becomes data. Over time, this data reshapes expectations. Hunger aligns more closely with actual energy needs. Fat loss becomes a byproduct rather than a struggle. The body releases what it no longer needs when it believes the conditions that required storage are gone. Sleep quality deepens as trust increases. Deep sleep is a state of vulnerability, and the body only enters it when it feels secure. In deep sleep, repair dominates over defense. Growth hormone rises, tissues regenerate, and fat metabolism improves. Appetite hormones reset, reducing the likelihood of cravings the following night. This creates a positive feedback loop where trust begets rest and rest begets metabolic balance. Attempts to force change interrupt this loop. Extreme control signals urgency and threat. Gentle structure signals stability. The latter is far more effective. When routines are supportive rather than punitive, the body cooperates. Hunger becomes informative instead of overwhelming. Fat storage becomes flexible instead of rigid. Ultimately, sustainable transformation occurs when the body no longer needs to defend against uncertainty. When evenings are predictable, nourishment is adequate and emotional needs are acknowledged. The body shifts out of survival mode. It stops hoarding energy and starts investing in repair, resilience, and balanced night hunger. And fat storage are not problems to be fought. They are messages to be understood. When you stop treating your body like an obstacle and start recognizing it as a protective system, everything changes. The cravings that once felt uncontrollable reveal their purpose, and that purpose points directly to what has been missing: safety, consistency, and calm. By shaping your evenings with intention, you change the signals your body receives. Reduced stimulation, steady nourishment, emotional closure, and gentle routines tell the nervous system that the day is complete and tomorrow is secure. As trust replaces tension, the body no longer needs to demand food for comfort or store energy out of fear. Sleep deepens, hormones realign, and fat release becomes a natural consequence of balance rather than force. This approach does not rely on restriction, guilt, or endless discipline. It works because it aligns biology with behavior and allows the body to do what it was designed to do when it feels safe enough to rest, recover, and let go.